started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and now...
That's right. We are live.
The ghost faced himself, Brandon Tanev.
This isn't like the start of last season when it looked like the Canucks were just a beer league team not playing defense at all. And just before Chris goes, I'm Chris. You can actually go now.
No, hold on.
We had to give more time for coming on late. So.
I still hold on. All right. Chris, go, and then I got something else to say at the end.
So, an elf and a midget in 2 back-to-back games. He's definitely on a friendship tour for sure.
I'm okay with him being, the 6'7" defenseman. No! He is a AHL defenseman right now.
Look, Shonky, don't mind Devin, okay? We all struggle with Devin, so you know.
Well, hello, one and all, and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks. We are live on Facebook.com, the Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com, Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com, Shifts and Pucks, and you can subscribe to wherever you get your audio. As it is Wednesday, we talk Flames. We are posting in between the final game for the Flames before the All-Star break as they are facing the Arizona Coyotes tonight. And after a pretty significant comeback, quite frankly, over the Dallas Stars, I would argue one of their biggest wins of the year so far. So we'll get into all of that. And we had a bunch of other news that has going out. Hello. We start with a hello to Devin. Hello, Devin.
Hey, Kev.
How are things?
Man, the ups and downs of owning a business is always fun. So if anybody's listening from TELUS, please call me. Otherwise, things are pretty good.
Good. I hope you get a ton of calls from people that work at TELUS. Hi, I work at TELUS.
I'm supposed to call you? Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You're supposed to fix my internet. Thank you.
Fix the internet. Yes. So, Sean, hello.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. Outside news of, sports news, today could be a very historic night for Canada because a win tonight puts them officially in the World Cup of Soccer in Qatar. And the game is officially going on. There was question about El Salvador if they were not going to play, but they are going to play. So we'll all play and have a good time.
They'll play. They'll play on crutches. Oh, sorry.
They'll play without money. They'll play for free. That's pretty much that one. So, yes, we'll get into all of that. We'll get into a bunch of this. Can I start with a shameless plug, though?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so on Saturday or on Sunday, I will be... Matt DeBoard from the Fireside Podcast is on the shelf. I think he's dealing with what I've heard is an upper body injury. So I'm going to be guest hosting with Dan Stevenson on the Fireside Podcast to talk about the Flames. I'm going to respond to a trade that someone suggested is a terrible one. I'm going to give it a different perspective. And we'll dig into some of the other stuff there. So that will be out. Dan posts that next Monday. So shameless plug there.
Sounds good, Kev. I'll be waiting with bated breath to see how you disappoint me and not holding their feet to the fire on that.
Well, how do you mean? What do you mean? I'm not going to hold their feet to the fire?
I'll be listening.
No. I know. I totally expect you to be reasonable and well-spoken. Unlike me, I would just yell at them.
I was about to say reasonable and well-spoken, not Sean. No. Definitely Kevin.
Fair enough. Oh, thank you. Well, let's touch on last night, which I think was significant for a couple of different reasons. The Flames were down 2 goals at the end of 2. Not a altogether awesome first 2 periods. I mean, there were points of good things, but I think at one point in the second, the Stars outshot the Flames 10-2. I think people were a little people's eyes lit up when in the third period, number 80, Dan Vladar got into the net. He only had to make 5 saves, but he had to make 2 big ones at the end. After the Flames came back from a 3-1 deficit to win 4-3. It's significant. The win is significant for 2 reasons. Rare comeback for the Flames to win, come back 3-1. And Oliver Shillington took a very bad penalty that almost put the Stars back in the lead just after the Flames they tied it up. Johnny Gaudreau tied it up. And then Oliver Shillington comes in and gets out of the box into the play and scores the winning goal. So kind of saved his own butt. But the 2 things out of this, though, is Markstrom being pulled for Vladar and Devin, the Flames coming back and winning. I think this is probably I would argue and suggest that was the most significant win of their season so far.
Yeah, it's up there, especially going into this little break that they have for the All-Star game. I getting those wins in the Western Conference is huge, and especially having that resilience to come back. And I guess Daryl Sutter really didn't like the way that the team was playing, obviously in the second. So a little bit of a shakeup and a little bit of a wake-up call towards the entire team. Not so much Jacob Markstrom, but bringing in Vladar, I think, it's a savvy move. That's a veteran coach move when he sees that his team isn't playing that well and they need a wake-up call. And it's better to get that wake-up call going into the third than potentially pulling Markstrom when he gets a goal scored on him. That's more deflating, I think, than doing it going into the third period. So I was definitely pleased with obviously the outcome within the game, but man, that first 10 minutes of the first period was sloppy on both ends. Dallas was coughing up the puck. Calgary was coughing up the puck. It was exciting. Not Daryl Sutter hockey that he wants to see. So definitely not surprised that he pulled a move like that. Maybe at the time it was a bit shocking, but I obviously woke him up. And I just want to give credit to Dallas. Dallas is a sneaky good team. I know I was shitting on them last week, saying that I still think that they won't make the playoffs. They went all in last year. I'm going off on a tangent here. Sorry, fellas. But they went all in last year to try and do something, and they lost Oleksiak for nothing going in to the expansion draft. So I think that I don't know if they'll do the same this year. So potentially, my prediction of potentially Joe Pavelski being available is definitely a real thing. But Jason Robertson, oh my God, is that kid fucking good? Holy, that shot that he had to score, it was unbelievable. That's world class, absolute world class. And yeah, that kid has a big future. Him and Rupe Hintz is going to be the top line there for a long time. But yeah, overall, I was obviously happy with the outcome, and that last goal that Calgary scored, that passing play was unreal. And it's just so funny that you had 2 defensemen up there on the rush with Lindholm to end it all off. I thought that was hilarious. So, but yeah, good on the Flames.
Sean, were you going to say something?
No, it was a gutsy move to pull Markstrom. He is your number one goalie. He is your starter. This isn't a 1A, 1B situation in Calgary. So that is a gutsy move made by Sutter and the coaching staff, but it worked. It woke them up, and they came back and were able to not only get the win, but get the win in regulation too, especially which is huge, especially against a team that they're in a battle for a wild card spot with right now.
Yeah. As far as tonight, I still think Markstrom goes tonight. I could be wrong. I just think could you win with Arizona with even Dustin Wolf? Probably, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to be that disrespectful for Arizona, but that is a game
the Arizona Coyotes that just beat Colorado.
Yeah, well, not only that, and that's the one point. And what you just said makes my point. You need these 2 points. You cannot take the night off against Arizona. These are the games you must win to get into the playoffs. Sure, you got to beat Dallas, and it's really good that you win when you're battling that team. But those, for the lack of a better word, those air quote bingo card wins, you got to get them. And to me, I think you play Markstrom. To me, and I think you got to make sure you get that win.
I disagree. I know that's the mentality with. It's been the mentality for a long time, and I understand the thought process and getting a free win on the bingo card, but I still think that Vladar needs more action. And yes, it kind of seems redundant to say that going into a All-Star break, but for instance, what if Markstrom gets hurt? And he's been known to get hurt when he's overplayed. Let him have more of a break. Put in Vladar, and Calgary should still come out with the win tonight. Unless that goalie of what the hell is his name? Something or other stands on his head. He that goaltender that I can't remember the name of. Sean's looking up right now, so I appreciate that. He is unreal. He a high volume type of guy who can definitely steal a game for Arizona if they need that. And I mean, they're both coming off of travel and playing last night, so it's you could definitely point it with it being a home game for Arizona, usually that's a good sign, especially when you have a team coming in who played the night before in a different city. But I still think that you go with Vladar. He needs more pucks to see more NHL game time, and because, like I said, you never know with Markstrom what's going to happen, and you need to make sure that your backup goalie is ready to go if that does happen. Knock on wood.
Karel Vejmelka.
Vejmelka. Yeah. Thank you.
He's a lefty.
I say you go with Markstrom. You've got the All-Star break coming up. He's not going, so why not? Unless he's feeling, unless he does have some sort of nagging thing, and you're worried about that, play him. He's got the All-Star break to rest up.
Yeah, and not only that, if you can get 4 points ahead of Dallas in that second wild card spot and put yourself in a position to get yourself into the top 3, which is really where you want to be if you're a Pacific Division team, you don't want to be in that wild card. I think you do it. And it's no disrespect to Vladar, but I think give Markstrom the break. You're going to be playing Vladar a lot in the second half. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to play Vladar when you're basically 40. It's 41 and 81 days. You're going to be seeing a lot of Vladar. So
I disagree.
You think you're going to run with Markstrom the rest of the way?
It's not the rest of the way. But we're talking about Daryl Sutter, the coach that loves to ride his number ones. Look at Mika Kiprasov. Look at Jonathan Quick. He's been known to do that. And even on back-to-backs, which there can be a bit of a debate whether or not on a back-to-back that you put in the same goalie on the first night and the second night. But I just look at the track record of the coach, and I just have a feeling that you won't see Vladar that much, which does scare me. I hope you're right, Kev. But it's just the coach's tendencies are different from that philosophy.
Well, you're paying $6 million for Markstrom, so that's the one thing, right? I mean, it's not a 1-1A, but I do think I think we probably see a little bit more of Vladar than in the beginning portion of the return of the All-Star break. Once this gets into the final quarter of the season, I think you're probably going all Markstrom all the time until they clinch a playoff spot.
That's fair.
I think it depends on the schedule. Like they've got back-to-back to start the Vegas and Toronto to start after the All-Star break. They have another back-to-back the week after. I think you can pencil in Vladar for 2 starts in the next those 2 weeks. They've got lots of back-to-backs, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 back-to-backs in March. And they still have a few back. They've got 2 back-to-backs, 3 back-to-backs in April. So I think you are still going to get some. You're going to see Vladar in those back-to-backs. You're also going to see him play other spot starts as well. I don't think it's going to be a ride him out situation with Markstrom unless Vladar's game falls off, because it's not like he's been bad, right? It's not like he's been, you throw Vladar in and you're like just hoping and praying that the Flames can find a way to win. He's been good enough that I think there is the confidence there that he will get I think more starts than Devin maybe insinuating here, but yeah, I think he's played well enough that he's still going to get starts going down the stretch here.
I think the one thing I do agree about Vladar. I think he's been pretty good. But and this will probably lead into one of our next questions here. I think some of the Flames Twitter has been a little too harsh on Markstrom. He's got 7 shutouts. I mean, I think he's kept this for the most part. It's a reasonable argument that he's if he's not in that team MVP discussion, if he's not the team MVP, he should be in that discussion at least at this particular point. And yet I'm seeing a lot of people saying not being happy with Markstrom, and it's that backup goalie tendency that everybody, a lot of time people have. They rather see more like play the backup. And Markstrom's been really good this year. I think arguably you could argue a possible Vezina vote, not a Vezina winner. I'm not saying he's the winner of the Vezina, but I think that you might give him a third place vote. You would at least consider him as a nominee.
Yeah, he's played well. I don't understand I haven't seen that on Twitter much, but it just doesn't make sense to me. The only reason why you put in Daniel Vladar is to give Markstrom a break. Markstrom has played very well, and how many goals? I can think of maybe a handful to 8 goals off the top of my head that Markstrom should have had. Otherwise, he's played solid. Like I said, the only reason why you bring in Vladar is to give Markstrom a break so that when the Calgary Flames make the playoffs, when/if, that Markstrom is at his top of his game, so he can steal games like he has within this season already. Like I said, he's already had 7 shutouts. Like, what more do you want out of a goalie? For giving them a chance to win every single night? Absolutely. What's been what have we been talking about the past 3 weeks here? What does Calgary need? It needs more depth scoring. It really does. And amazing that they got that last night with Trevor Lewis and Ruzicka. By the way, Ruzicka on that play, unbelievable. What a that poise that he had to pass that puck to Trevor Lewis was amazing. And the whole Markstrom conversation, I think, is just making sure that he's healthy going into the playoffs.
Yeah, Trevor Lewis has been one of the more underappreciated Flames this year. Like, again, you're not getting a heck of a lot of goals from Trevor Lewis. That's not the point of Trevor Lewis. He's brought in to be a 4th-line player, and he's doing his job. Like, he has not been part of the. I don't see him as part of the problem with the Flames. There's other issues. I mean, the performance of Tyler Pitlick, very fair criticism. Brad Richardson, Brett Ritchie, I think some valid arguments there, but Trevor Lewis shouldn't be part of that. Shouldn't be part of that argument, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think he's done what he's needs to do is get the puck out of the defensive zone, get it in deep, and get a change, pretty much, and bang a crash, essentially. But I do want to ask a question here. What did you think about the little, as Kevin, you call it, the line jiggle, with bringing Lucic down to the fourth line and Richie up to the third line?
I like that. I mean, maybe we'll jump into, because Adam Ruzicka's on the agenda here. I like that line. I really like. I think Ruzicka has been very solid, and I think Ruzicka. I think Ruzicka should stay up for the rest of the year. First of all, I think he's done enough. I know that Daryl Sutter wants him to continue to work on other things, and I get that. But I think he's been far more effective than Brad Richardson. And I think that as a fourth line, that Ruzicka, Lucic, Lewis line works. Now, the counterpart to this is I know that Brett Ritchie makes a tremendous effort at the game of hockey, but it is almost an argument, Devin and Sean, to me, that it's proof that Jacob Pelche should be in this lineup. If you're putting Brett Ritchie on your third line, on your perceived third line, he's not a third line player. And that to me tells me it's I'm going to reiterate this. It's time to call up Jacob Pelche. That's the evidence there, or address that depth scoring, because Brett Ritchie does not solve that.
John?
That's a big piece of what we'll get into a little bit later as well, is the depth scoring and how do the Flames address that. Instead of spending assets to try and address it, give one of your younger players a shot. Like, why would you spend potentially a prospect, a pick, and another roster player to address to try and upgrade your depth scoring, instead of just giving it a shot, giving Pelche or Phillips a shot, because those are the two that are playing really well and producing down in Stockton. Give them a shot.
Yeah, the reason why I brought it up is because I think that Monahan, Dube, and Lucic line was pretty effective. But I think the reason why Lucic is on the quote unquote fourth line is to give Ruzicka some leadership. They're both big guys, and to make sure that Ruzicka is playing the right way. And I think that is the reason why there's that switch. And obviously, I do not like having Brett Ritchie up with potentially good skilled line. Monahan obviously this year has not done much, and Dube has. Man, going to get into that a little bit later. But overall, I think I agree with Kevin. You got to bring up a Pelche, put him on that third line, see how well he does. I said this about last year. Sorry here. But I brought this up 2 podcasts ago, maybe even the last one, that Pelche is not a goal scorer. He's very much a nitty-gritty guy who has skill, who can get the puck, kind of like a Zach Hyman. I'm not saying he is Zach Hyman, like a Zach Hyman, and pass it to the more skilled players like a Dube and like a Monahan. And especially, where does Monahan play the best and how does he score his goals is in close in the slot. So having that is a very beneficial piece on a line like the Monahan Dube line that has been struggling. So yes, bring up Pelche, put him on that line, or even bring down Coleman off that second unit, put him on the third unit, and put Pelche on that second unit with Backlund and Mangiapane.
Yeah, which leads us to one of our. We'll get into Dillon Dube in a little bit here too, but Blake Coleman is a guy that I think has gotten, that it's a big contract. He has 8 goals. He has 15 points. He probably has 8 posts too. I haven't counted. There's not in the stat sheet, but he's on pace for 16 goals. 16 goals. If in terms of what the pace is. But I think some fans and some people have not been very impressed with his play. And so I kind of want to hear what you guys have thought of Blake Coleman. Has he lived up to your expectations, or has he been a disappointment? Well,
he's right where I thought he was going to be. Not amazing as far as the stat sheet. More of a leader on the ice and off the ice. I think that the reason why, or we'll see when/if Calgary makes it to the playoffs, that's when we'll see his weight and value. What is he going to do? How is he going to play to get Calgary over that hump within the playoffs? I think that'll be the biggest test for him. And there's a lot riding on that contract in my mind. And I truly believe that the playoffs it's going to be very important for him to shine more so than the regular season.
Yeah, he's exactly where he's the exact player that I thought he is, which is under that contract and cap hit, overpaid, but he is still adding value to the Flames and being a part of what is making them a tough team to play against, and a team that is looking like they're at least not even just a playoff contender, but potentially a division contender. So, and then Devin's right in terms of what you'll see from him in the playoffs could add to more of that value. But I honestly think that right now he's exactly where I thought he'd be. But the issue with him is that contract. That is a very long contract for a 30-year-old player. But right now, he's fine.
Yeah, I'm with. I think there's so much that Blake. I think sometimes we always look offensively, but there's so many little things that he does that I think just do make a difference defensively. Even offensively that doesn't show up on the scoreboard. Probably some off ice stuff too. I don't think he's been bad. I don't think he's been awesome. I'm not saying that. I think he's been mostly also unlucky. He's had a number of opportunities this year where either he's hit the post, missed the net. He probably deserves a little bit of a higher scoring than what he's got. But we had that debate. The debate we had over the playoffs last year was Coleman or Hyman. I mean, we continuously debated that. And Hyman is making 5.5 at 29 until 28, and Coleman is making 4.9 at 30 until 27. And I don't know. I think Oiler fans would probably say the same thing. I don't think Hyman's been awesome, but I don't think he's been terrible. I think it's been pretty much. I think both of them have been pretty much what has been expected.
Yeah, they both are players that play up and down the lineup. Right now, last time I checked, Hyman was on that third line when you expected him to be playing top 6 minutes. And it doesn't mean that there's not any line jiggling throughout a game, because there definitely is, especially up there because they have to. But yeah, I agree. If I was going to take either one, I'm not saying this as a Calgary bias. I'd take obviously Coleman because he has a lower cap hit, and maybe just a hair less miles on the odometer. They both play very similar, but Coleman kind of came into his own a little bit later in his career in comparison to Hyman, where I believe Hyman is, as far as I remember being a Leafs fan, he's been pretty solid throughout his career as a Maple Leaf. So, yeah, it's you're kind of splitting hairs between those two of them. But Kev, you are right there. He needs to capitalize on his chances more so, because I believe he has at least 5, maybe even 6 breakaways, and he's probably scored on 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his stats and his possession stats specifically for Blake Coleman, and they're not bad. Like he's his shot share percentage is 57%, which is better than which puts him basically right with Elias Lindholm. So,
damn,
yeah, but that's always been the thing with Blake Coleman. I remember getting to this argument 2-3 years ago when he hadn't been traded away from the Devils yet, and there was some Toronto fans clamoring for them to get him because they called him a first line player, and I'm like, he's not. He's a really good like third piece on a second line because he helps drive the play, but he's not a point producer. He never has been. So, yeah, he's exactly where I thought he'd be, and he's exactly and which is overpaid but still adding value.
Which leads to the next part, and this is a guy that has been brought up as a trade chip for a number of teams. That this is the guy that a lot of Flame fans, I mean, even Mike Gould of Sportsnet 650 brought him up. I'm not just put him in the JT. We're not rehashing the JT Miller trade. I'm just bringing this up as a point because he was part of the name that we had when Mark Stone was on the table. He was part of the discussion even when Jack Eichel was part of this. This was a possibility, air quotes. Now we hear it, JT Miller. He's this guy that I think Flame fans believe this guy can get you the big piece, and it's Dillon Dube. And I'm looking at I'm just, I'm not necessarily a person that delves into the analytics as much as others, and it's not that I don't like analytics. I'm an eye tester more with analytic, and I do believe in analytics to a certain point. But 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points, and a -10 in 41 games. I'm just going to start here. For the expectations of what people have had to Dillon Dube, I don't believe that that's enough. And I think this is one of those situations, and you guys can certainly agree or disagree with me, that I think fans at times overrate their players and underrate others. And I think Flames fans at times are overselling Dillon Dube. And I don't, what I'm struggling with here is I don't know what Dillon Dube is, because I don't think he's a top 6 forward in the National Hockey League, but I don't know if he's a bottom 6 forward. And I'm not saying that the guy needs to get to the minors, but I certainly don't know if he's the piece that everyone thinks is going to get you that scorer, that top 6 forward that you think the Flames need. I don't believe Dillon Dube. I don't know if Dillon Dube is the answer to that. I'm getting concerned that Dillon Dube is like any other bottom 6 forward that you can find anywhere. I could go to Walmart and get that same rug. Right?
Yeah, I think the thing with Dube is he's still young. He's still only 20. He's
23.
23 years old. There's still a couple years where you can still develop into a good sort of middle 6 player. And I'll get maybe this is a discussion for another time, but the game's gotten past where it's either top 6 or bottom 6. You've got top line, middle 6, and fourth line. And Dillon Dube is sort of hovering around that bottom half of the middle 6 right now. He got 11 goals in 51 games last year, and that's where people got a little more excited. But his career, he's 22 goals in 162 games. So what is he? Is he just going to be a sort of middle 6 guy, likely on the third line throughout his career, or is he more than that? And that's a huge question. And that's where I'm at. Like, if you're trying to put together trade proposals for big fish, and whether it's a JT Miller or a Jacob Chitrin, John Klingberg, Connor Garland. I don't know and if there's any other
Claude Giroux.
major. Pardon?
Claude Giroux.
Yeah, he's probably got some value in there, but he's not the big piece. He's going to be. He's someone that you're bringing in for. His value is that his contract is not that bad. He's got one more year left at 2.2 after this year.
2 more years after this year. 2.3.
At 2.3. So yeah, so it's. I think you look at that and go, okay, that does add value. Can he flourish elsewhere? But he doesn't have that super high end value that I think that like Flames fans are expecting. And then as Kevin said, a lot of every other fan base has a player like this that they overvalue because of either draft position or how they've played in juniors and the AHL and maybe a spurts in the NHL. So I know I look at that and I don't know how much value he actually holds right now, because he's in his 3rd full season in the NHL.
You can put a quotation out of full, but yes.
Yeah. Let's just say it's his second season where he hasn't played a game in Stockton. He played 25 games in 18-19, put up 5 points. 45 games in 19-20 and put up 16 points. Last season in 51 games, he put up 22. And now he's got 11 in 41. Is this what he is? Is he just a middle 6 forward that you could, depending on what your makeup is of your lineup, depends on what line he slots in, or is there more? And I think that's a huge question. And that's what teams who are going to be, if Dillon Dube is a trade chip, that's what they're going to say. And that's how they're not going to, I don't think they're going to value him as highly as maybe Flames fans would want them to.
The reason why Flames fans have him so high is because when he first came into the league, he forced his way onto this team. He made sure that he was known from day one, and he got absolutely leveled. I don't know if you guys remember this. He got leveled by his now teammate, Gabranson. And that's how Travis Hamonic broke his hand, is because Travis Hamonic came to his defense and fought him. And not really where I was going with that, but that was just what came to my mind. But anyways, coming back into where he is, I think the talent is there. The drive and determination, maybe not so high-end talent that I'm talking about, but his drive and determination has got him to where he is now. He's a smaller player, and he can make a difference. I think he's struggling where he is now. He's struggling with what Daryl Sutter is preaching to him, and I think he might be trying to figure out his defensive game a little bit more right now, and making sure that he's defensively reliable and sound by not giving up goals. And once you start doing that, and especially in a Daryl Sutter system, you will start scoring goals because you're taking care of your defensive zone. I'm not saying that Dillon Dube is going to light the world on fire, but I think Levi in our comments here, he's bang on with it. He isn't going to turn into a 30-goal scorer, but he's probably tops out out of 15 goals in a season, and he could be a 20-goal mixed in here or there. And I think that's a great take, because he's very young at a manageable contract, and I think the upside is definitely there. But is he going to be a main part of a trade? No, and I'm not going to say he's going to be a throw-in either. As some people like to talk about in certain trades. Adam Fox, he was a throw-in kind of attitude towards it if he does get traded out of Calgary. So I think the value with this player is there. Having a draft pick, like being able to play NHL minutes, That's massive. That's huge. But I guess where it comes down to is like, okay, well, what is he within this league? But I think it's more so what is he within this Daryl Sutter system? Because if he does get traded, he could thrive somewhere else.
Where does he play on the Leafs?
On the Leafs, well, I think he'd be third line. I don't know
what he is right now with Calgary?
I'd say so. Yeah, I don't see him taking any spot on that second line. They just have a lot of forward depth within that organization in comparison to what the Flames look like.
Yeah,
where is he in Vancouver?
He'd be third line as well. Like Höglander's is producing better than him. Podkolzin's producing at a similar rate, and they're both younger. So that's the other thing. When they're tossing those names out, I'm like, is that someone who really fits the Rutherford and Alvin mold, let alone a Boudreau mold, and is he going to get a better opportunity in Vancouver than he would in Calgary? And I don't know if I don't think he would.
Yeah, I think for me, he's at a third line rate. And and that's the problem, I think, where when we try to add Dillon Dube in a trade, there's other players that I could see that could add some value. This may sound ridiculous here in some ways, but just hear me out. And I'm not saying he's as good as Dillon Dube, but just in terms of interest here, Matthew Highmore with Vancouver could be a guy that I could play on a third line. Would I value him in a Dillon Dube? I don't know, but that's another guy I would be thinking of. You're already hearing Arturi Lehkonen sort of. We're not going to touch him today necessarily, but I guess there's other my point is I feel like there's other players that play a third line role that I think might be more valuable than a Dillon Dube, even in a prospect way.
Depends on what you're looking for in the third line.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I agree with you. I think that Dube has a more of a higher end than your typical third line role. And I think that's where the value is that he can't. You've seen little flashes here and there of his skill and talent, but I'd say he's right in between a third to second line role. That is, if he's playing at the top of his game, then he's a second line player. But the consistency isn't there, obviously.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Highmore is a third line player. I would call him a very good fourth line player at this point. But he doesn't have the offensive upside you want as for a third line player in the league today. But he works hard and because we're talking about I look at that. Yeah, it is what is Dube? Can he be a hustle and outwork people and so you're not questioning this? Because I think that's part of it is you are questioning what he is, and you are questioning whether or not he can outwork players now. And that's not I'm not saying that he's not working hard. It's just where is he right now?
And the other thing sorry, go ahead, Devin.
I just think it's his confidence that's being shot right now. I don't think Daryl Sutter is the proper coach for him. I think as of right now, it's hard to thrive as a young player with a Daryl Sutter coach. Very hard. And if he doesn't get those little, bump ups every once in a while, then that might be hard on him, especially playing with a guy like Sean Monahan who's struggling as hell. He might need somebody to drag him into the fight a little bit. And going back to to Kevin's original thought of bringing up Jacob Pelche, talk about a guy who drags you into that fight and is defensively sound on top of that as well. Oh my God. Now, fuck Kev. Now I really want to see him. I want to see Jacob Pelche here just because, and I want to see what he can do on this lineup.
Yeah.
Can we start a hashtag here?
Hashtag free Pelche.
Well,
That's the hashtag. It's hashtag free Pelche.
Well, I don't know if it's free Pelche.
You gotta go. You gotta go alliteration. It's hashtag play Pelche.
Play Pelche. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Free Pelche means that, in my mind, get him out of Calgary or Calgary's organization. That's not what we want.
No. Yeah, no, I agree. And my other thought on this too is that when you're trading prospects and you're trading big pieces for prospects to build up your prospect pool, you want to get a prospect that improves the prospects within your team, right? So you know, like, just as an example, the Sabres trying to acquiring Peyton Krebs in the Jack Eichel trade. The reason that they want to make that trade is because it improves their prospect pool. And that's the question that you have to ask when you are bringing in a guy like Dillon Dube. Does he improve your prospect pool? Does he, if you consider him a prospect?
Team? Yeah, he's not a prospect anymore.
No, that's fair. But is he an improvement in what you have? That's the question, I think.
Well, as well as whether or not, okay, what does your team need? What is that, right? What does that look like? Does he complement your prospect pool or NHL team? Does he complement it?
Yeah.
And as of right now, the biggest question is, what does he do for you?
And with that in mind, like, this is a bit of a tangent. It's the same. This exact conversation is going to be the same thing that happens when they try and when Juuso Välimäki, if he's used as a trade chip, what does he add to these teams that are requiring him? Does he add to a prospect pool? Does he add to the team? Because he's not proven that he can stay in the NHL at this point, right?
Well, that to me, I still think there is talent within Juuso Välimäki. There really is. I really believe that. I think it's the same issue, though, what Devin says about Dube. I don't know if he fits here. I think he might fit elsewhere. He might be one of those guys that blossoms somewhere else, in a different system. I could see him, like, as an example, I could see him in Carolina thriving. I could see that him fitting into that system better. I think that's where it is.
Our team's willing to give up much value for a player, whether it's like, well, we think he's a better fit here.
I'd say Välimäki fits more into that conversation than Dube does. I think Välimäki, he's eating crow right now, essentially. Well, not crow. I think he was one of the players that was very entitled at the end of last year, and he's taking his medicine right now and being like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be as confident, and maybe I need to work on a few things, and maybe my cockiness got in the way of me. And it doesn't seem like that he is that type of player and that type of person. Peter Labardius thinks very highly of him as a person and as a leader. So I have a hard time believing that, but everything else that I've heard and seen, it seems like he felt like he deserved higher ice time. He deserved to be in the NHL. And I think that potentially, depending on where the Välimäki camp is sitting, either it's going to be, okay, yeah, I'll take a back seat here for a little bit. I'll figure my shit out, and then maybe I can thrive within a year or two. Or maybe it's soured. Maybe he's wanting a trade eventually, and that they haven't really it hasn't come out in the woodworks yet, aka leaked to the media, that Välimäki wants out. I don't think that I think Välimäki and Dube are on different playing fields and levels, and I'd say Välimäki is more so on the side of he could potentially thrive somewhere else, where Dube is, okay, well, maybe this is what he is. The sample size for Välimäki isn't there yet, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the other thing is there was a spot for him to take, but guess what? Oliver Shillington took it and ran with it, and he forced his way in there. He's a big reason why Välimäki has a buried salary on the Flames roster, on the Flames cap. Like, Valimaki has a 1.55 cap hit when he's up on the Flames. So they have to have 4.25 425K still on their cap, even when he's down on the taxi squad or down in the AHL, because they thought he was more than what he is. So then that's another. But yeah, like I think you're right there, Dev. And Kevin, I think there might be a little bit more with Valimaki in terms of, well, there's some more unknown with Valimaki. Dillon Dube is an NHL player. How high up in that in the lineup that does he play is the question. With Valimaki now, for me, is he actually an NHL player?
I think the talent is there. I really do. But it's you're right. I agree with you about the Shillington part, but the other part of this is there's been times when I know that Daryl Sutter hasn't been impressed with Nikita Zadorov. I mean, he's pretty much said he needs to work on outs his play without the puck, but yet he still plays Zadorov. So he's either A, completely unimpressed with Valimaki, or B, Valimaki is not a fit for what Sutter wants. And I'm not like
Zadorov Zadorov is 26, I believe. He's been around the NHL. He understands what his role is, and I just think that I think it's Sutter saying, "Hey, I don't want him on my team because of his cockiness," and that's just my opinion. Like I said, out of everything that I've heard, that is what I've come down to. And he just needs to mature a little bit more. And I don't think I think he can fit within this Sutter organization as I think Sutter has a lot of say where players are. And it gets to a point where I think Brad Treliving was like, okay, well, if he's not going to be playing up here, he's got to be sent down. He's not going to be on the taxi squad. He's not going to be he's got to play, essentially. He has to play.
But I guess go ahead, Devin.
No, you got it.
One of the things that's just popping in my head, I'm hearing a lot of like Pelche, like get Pelche here. Pelche's really good. Like I'm hearing a lot of that from the Stockton folk. I'm not necessarily hearing get Valimaki up here. He needs to be up here. Like I'm not hearing that as much. And maybe it's not. Maybe he's not playing as well as we think. Maybe the other thing is, and this is entirely possible, they've decided that Valimaki stays in Stockton the entire year, and he marinates. Because remember, he's coming off a huge injury, which does stunt that development. He also, with the shortened 2 seasons, he's probably a little bit behind in his development where he is in terms of what we think he should be in his development. He's probably a couple of years behind, and he needs this entire season.
Yeah, he's only played 19 games total between the Stockton Heat and the Calgary Flames.
And realistically, I think there's a new wave that we've been a new wave of thought that we've kind of thought, or that has been building within the NHL, that young players are if you're not a young player, or if you are a young player and not playing in the NHL and you're a first round draft pick and you're almost in your mid-20s, that you're a bust. And that's not the mentality I think that we need to have with certain young players, and understand that everybody's trajectory is different. And I think that the injury, to Kev's point, the injury definitely has a hindrance on him. Maybe confidence-wise, making him feel like he can do the things that he was doing before. But having realistic expectations for everybody. And what I mean by that is not having any expectations and seeing where these players come out and have their play dictate where we see them, not the drafting position. Ask Andrew Mangiapane, ask Johnny Gaudreau, where were they drafted? Joe Pavelski, Pavel Datsyuk. Like all those players were drafted in the late rounds.
Yeah. And in finding your
all this before you go there, Kev. Actually, no, go you go, Kev. I'll save my comment for after.
Well, I mean, you look at a guy like a couple of guys, Zach Bogosian and Luke Schenn. I think the two really good examples of what I think Devin is talking about. Two very high draft picks that have found their way, found their home playing a style of defense is not necessarily you wouldn't put him in a top 4. Like Luke Schenn is playing in a top 4, but I don't think a lot of people would consider him a top 4 defenseman. Normally, in the
AHL
National
defenseman, AHL.
Right, but the point is he's found his home and his way to play, and that takes years to develop, and you have to get over the fact of where you're drafted. Look at Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett is yes, he's a 4, but this is a good example of what I'm trying to say. Is Bennett was a high pick. There was high expectations here. Now he's in Florida. He's got all that pressure off of his shoulders. He's just playing the game. And he's found a role of what he's supposed to be. And it's not necessarily that he was the 4th pick of an 18-year-old Sam Bennett anymore. He's now Sam Bennett of the Florida Panthers.
Yeah. With all this Valimaki talk and everything that you're saying, Kev, doesn't this remind you of another defenseman that we talked about a lot on this podcast? Who got traded to Florida as well?
Matthew Tkachuk? Oh, sorry. No. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Devin's on my train of thought, just with a shot there. But that's to me, that's unfortunately with Valimaki, he is straying into Olli Levy territory. I'm not saying he gets there, but he's straying into it right now.
To a certain extent, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but I mean, it would be what happens is what I guess the question comes is if Valimaki moves, and where does he fit on another team? Levy moved, and he's not cracking that Florida Panther lineup, where other people, which we'll get into, are having 6-point nights as a forward on a third line. Just pointing that out. I know that might have been a targeted at Devin, but that's what we call a tease. But speaking of trade options, there are another couple of other names that have been popped up here, and one I think Sean may roll his eyes, so maybe we'll save the Sean roll eyes. But the Montreal Canadiens are probably going to be are obviously going to be in sell mode, and the big name that has been out there is Ben Sharat, linked to a few teams. Now linked to the Flames. Can I start on this?
Please.
Someone posted this on Twitter. I wouldn't trade I wouldn't trade a sniffy markers for Ben Sharat. And this is one of those that I'm going to make a bold prediction. Someone is going to overpay for Ben Sharat and expect more than he actually gives. I don't think Ben Sharat improves his team. I don't think he's not better. He's absolutely not better than Noah Hanifin. And he's absolutely not better than Oliver Shillington. And I think the Canadians will be at whatever that dumb tweet that wanted Dustin Wolf. For the love of God, holy crap!
That was not you talked. I was getting irrationally angry about some of the talks about the Miller trades and all that. That was ridiculous. Just so those who didn't see it or all that, I think it was Ben Sharat retained. They didn't actually specify how much. Arturi Lehkonen retained. Again, they didn't specify how much for Jacob Pelche, a first, Dustin Wolf, and I think Zadorov as a captain.
Yeah, that was so stupid. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was I try not to use the word stupid, but that was one of the. That was one of the dumbest trade proposals I've ever heard in my life.
Pure homerism right there.
Yeah, exactly. But
I think within that, it kind of goes to show it most likely was a Montreal fan.
It was.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about overvaluing players on their own team.
Yeah, and but one of the things that I think might happen is I think some teams are overvaluing what Ben Sharat is. This is the guy. I'm going to say this. I do not think the Flames should even be. The Flames should be as far away from this conversation as possible. I do not think they should be involved in any Ben Sharat talks. I don't think I'm going to say this. May sound hot takey. I don't think he's better than Zadorov.
I was about to say, like, he's not an upgrade on Zadorov, and he's not a stylistic upgrade for the Flames blue line that what they need. As I've said multiple times on this podcast, in previous episodes, they need a puck mover.
Yes, they do.
They need another puck mover. They've got Shillington's is solid, Anderson's solid, but they need one more, and ideally they need someone who can be a number one, a power play quarterback for that number one unit. And if they can find that and have have them be ideally a top four caliber defenseman that is probably going to end up playing on the third pair, because you've got Anderson and Hanifin as a pair, and you've got Tanev and Shillington as a pair, and you don't want to split those up. So you're going to be adding them to a pair with Zadorov or Goodbranson. Then I think that's what works. But I don't think it's. I don't think he. I know Ben Sharat is not that. Ben Sharat is just another version of Goodbranson and Zadorov.
Yeah.
I understand why he is potentially being talked about coming over to the Calgary Flames, because in the playoffs, you need to have depth. You need to have defensive depth. It's for lack of a better word, it's a war, right? It's a war on nutrition, and attrition, whatever the fuck it is.
I love the word nutrition. It's a war on nutrition. Can
That's
we
right.
hashtag that as well? Hashtag war on nutrition.
You need to have depth wherever you are, and bringing in a bottom three defenseman. It sounds like this is what's been trotted out there by Frank Saravelli, that it's going to be a first, a top prospect, and potentially another draft pick.
That's one of those things.
The only way that
how stupid is that?
You could ask. I'm going to tell you to fuck off, but you could certainly ask.
But Saravelli is saying that teams are really interested in Sharat, and that's the going price, and it just keeps on going to be climbing, and someone will fucking pay that.
Honestly, I don't see them anyone getting that, anyone paying that for a 30-year-old rental who is as he's a bottom half of your lineup defenseman. Yeah, he can penalty kill. But he's not. Yeah, he's not. No, he's not worth that at all.
But having Saravelli saying that there's multiple teams involved with this trade talk here, that I mean, you can't discount that. You can't say a team's not going to pay that. A team will pay that, or something close to it.
Where is Frank getting that from? And who is actually is that? That's the other thing. All these rumors come from somewhere. Is that Montreal putting it out there that's quote unquote the price, hoping that he gets? They get like a second.
I would think that Saravelli and these insiders are smarter than that and being like, oh yeah, Montreal, what's going on? Oh, this is what you're saying. Okay, I'm trotting this out there. Unless it's some sort of Montreal media that's saying that, I would think that Saravelli would follow up to other team, or like follow up with other teams to see if that's true. I give more credit than don't get me wrong. I think it's absolute lunacy, and I think the Calgary Flames should stay the fuck away from that. But I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it, because there are those type of deals at the trade deadline that people shake their heads up, being like, "Holy fuck, that was too much."
The only way that I could possibly see someone giving a first round pick for Ben Sharat, and I really would doubt it, is if you're a position like a Tampa where you feel like you can win a Stanley Cup. and you don't really need a first rounder. But I don't see it. And I think there needs to be, this is a future podcast topic, but I really, really, really need to think we need to talk. I don't want to criticize the insiders, the so-called insiders that are doing their job, but I think we need to talk about interpreting trades and some of these rumors as a fan base. Because I think that this is getting a little bit over the top. Like media literacy is lacking. There is a serious lack of media literacy going on in this country. Let me tell you. I get my
world.
Voice
just call it the world there, Kev.
It is seriously lacking right now. It is unbelievably lacking. And it's just, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I look at, and I think I saw this tweet, it'd be Dave Pagnotta, I think it would be the one who reported this, because this is the fourth period. The price is a first round plus another piece. That's the price. That's what Montreal's asking.
But that doesn't mean that's what they're going to get.
Exactly.
But like you can go on the other side though, that if another team, if you have two teams bidding, that the price goes up, right? And like I agree with you, Kev, that there is a if you are a Stanley Cup contender like the Tampa Bay Lightning, or potentially like the Carolina Hurricanes or the Florida Panthers, that could be the difference in potentially how well they do. And that is always the mentality of going into the trade deadline, is you will have those people. And like even Florida could be like, okay, well, we don't want Tampa Bay to have them. We want them. And we're doing it in spite of Tampa Bay, just so that Tampa Bay does not get this player. Because if they get this player, then it's going to be harder for us to get to the Stanley Cup Finals, especially with, obviously, they're in the same state down in Florida.
But at the same time, if I'm a general manager and I'm in a bidding war, and there are other players I would rather have a team not get than Ben Sharat. Ben Sharat, to me, is not a needle mover. There are other players out there that I can say, yeah, that's a needle mover. I don't see Ben Sharat as a needle mover. I think that he's being overvalued in this trade market right now.
1,000% he's being overvalued. I'm with you guys. I think it's fucking lunacy. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But we have seen it before, and I don't think that I think that this could be a possibility where we see it again with Ben Sharat getting overpaid or getting valued within this trade market.
And if that's the price for Ben Sharat, what's the price for, again, we got Jacob Chychrun on the block, potentially John Klingberg, depending on what Dallas wants to do here or where they're sitting. Let alone you throw in a JT Miller who's signed through till next year. If Ben Sherrod's getting a first and a prospect, then like that's two firsts, a prospect, and something else. Like it's like if that's the like that's why I think it's there. That's why like I look at that every time I see these rumors. Like as you said there, Kev, it's kind of you got to look at it and just don't take it for word because there's a game of telephone that gets like, especially on Twitter, the game of telephone is like ridiculous, and it's like. Canuck teams are asking about JT Miller. Canucks are shopping JT Miller. No, that's not how this works. So I look at that. I look at that and honestly, I think that's what they're doing. They've set, especially with they've got Kent Hughes in there and Jeff Gorton. Is it Jeff or am I going NASCAR on everyone?
Jeff Gorton.
Gorton. I knew it was Gorton. I just couldn't remember if it. But yeah, they have. It's gonna be their first move. They're gonna try and make like there's the Brian Burke is you have a price that you don't go below, and if you lose a player for nothing, then well, that's the price of making sure that teams know that you have a price and you stick to it.
And that's fair.
Sorry, Kev, go.
That's fair, but again, I have an interest in a player. I have a price that I'll pay that I'm not willing to go though too. It goes both ways on that.
Yes, it does.
And I feel like that's more of a GM thing than also a organizational thing, because Look how many players look how many teams have lost players for nothing. Like, and that's the conversation right now. I mean, not a strong conversation because obviously Johnny Gaudreau is not going to get traded here, but we could potentially lose Johnny Gaudreau for nothing. Jarmo Kekalainen lost Bobrovsky for nothing. And he lost Panarin for nothing too because they went all in. And look at that organization right now. I'm sorry, it's not the best organization. And to a certain extent, you need to get something. You need to get something for a player. And yes, obviously, if you're selling off the player like Montreal is and you're having a bidding war, then absolutely, like, fucking have at her. But yeah, there needs to be a drop dead point. But at the same time, you don't want to lose it for nothing. You need something.
But we're also, yeah. I honestly think it literally is that this is the price right now. By the deadline, it'll be a second round pick.
It's going to go down.
I think the price for Ben Sherratt's going to go down. Yes.
Yeah, it has. Like, look at that Canadian team. Like, come on. Like,
are you teams are not going to line up and say, yeah, we're going to give our first round pick and a B-level prospect for Ben Sharat, and then another team's going to go, no, we'll give an A prospect for Ben Sharat too. Like, no, they're going to say, we're like, again, as you said, Dev, there's the how much are we willing to give up option there, and line, and you can't cross it. And I think that there may be teams, multiple teams, 3-4 handful of teams interested in Ben Sharat, but not at that price.
Yeah.
You do have sorry, go for it.
Kent Hughes will have Boston, St. Louis, Calgary, Florida, all phoning to seeing if they can get a Ben Sharat, but they're all. I doubt all of them are going to be offer. I doubt any of them are going to be offering a first round pick and a prospect for him. We'll give you a second. We'll give you a third. I think that's kind of where we're at here.
I think we forget about the GMs like Peter Chiarelli. You know, but usually you think that the GMs are smart, and good potential is that they are, because they're in that position for a reason. But there has been terrible fucking trades before. Terrible.
But there's also been teams that have not made a trade that have turned out to be smart, and sometimes the best trade made is the one not made.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. I'm on your guys' team. I'm on your side. I'm just saying that there's other options out there, and you can't just dismiss it just like that, because like we've seen it in the past. It's been there.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting the popcorn out for my next name, because I think that this will create some heat. The other name that is sort of linked to the Flames, I'm not sure how much of a link that this is. I think that there's some criticism, but apparently the name Connor Garland is out there, and has the Flames have at least called, probably put in a phone call and asked. I don't know if it's for real or not. I could see Sean is like, this is going to be fucking ridiculous, but I'll start here. Let me start here. Connor Garland for the Flames is a guy that I think fits a lot of boxes. I think he replaces what I think they are missing from the Elias Lindholm right-hand shot portion of the team when he was scoring. I think he does that. I think he brings a fabric into the game. I think the question and debate is what the cost will be for Connor Garland. And so I can see why this is a discussion. I don't know if this gets done through a Vancouver-Calgary route, if that makes maybe planting a different way to look at it. Fair. Okay. Devin, where are you at?
I would love a Connor Garland. I would love a right shot forward, winger, that can score, to be in your top six. I think that would help round out the what Calgary needs. I'd say Calgary needs a center more than a winger, personally. just to bump down Michael Backlund and have more center depth within the organization, putting Monahan on that fourth line, or quote unquote fourth line. But Connor Garland at his cap hit at what is it, 4.95 until the end of the 2026 season. He's only 25. I'd say that's a very reasonable deal as far as his contract goes. But you would think that Vancouver would be asking a lot for him, period. And even trading in division, they'd be asking for a lot more. If it was Calgary, Edmonton, Seattle, Vegas, whoever it is, Anaheim, LA, it's hard to make those trades and come out on top if you're trading in division. I would love him. I don't see it happening, but I would love a Connor Garland on my team.
Yeah,
we went through last week with JT Miller, and we came up with we didn't think that the pieces were there that would make sense for the Canucks to trade, let alone within division. They're still not there.
Yeah,
Connor Garland isn't as high as Miller is, as far as the rankings go, as far as I'm concerned, but he's close. And yeah, I don't see Calgary having the right pieces for it.
Yeah,
unless Kevin. Sorry, I keep on cutting you off.
Well, unless the only other way that I could see it if the only way that I see Connor Garland coming to Flames is if Treliving pulls a Doug Wilson or
yeah, you're right,
Florida Panther and gets someone else to acquire Connor Garland, and they acquire Garland that way. That is the only way that I could see that happening. But I don't see Vancouver trading Connor Garland to Calgary directly.
No.
Yeah, there's got to be another team involved for sure.
Yeah.
And it would have to be a full on. It wouldn't be a traditional three-way trade. It would be a full-on separate one, because I don't think the Canucks would be happy to be part of that.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't. Yeah, they wouldn't be in a three-way trade, but that would be the only way that had happened.
I would say depending, because we're talking about Calgary not having enough parts. If Vancouver's getting the parts that they want for Garland, no matter where Garland's going, I think you got to take that as a win if you're Vancouver.
My argument, just to put my Canucks hat on for just a quick second here, though, is I don't want to be playing Connor Garland in this division for the next 4 or 5 years. I really don't.
Is Connor Garland that big of a piece?
I think Connor Garland is a lot better than I think people are giving him credit for. I think that this has been a year of adjustment for Connor Garland. I think that there's some people in Vancouver that feels that he's been one of their better forwards, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think it's been a tough year, but I think he's better. I think he's better than people are giving him credit for.
For sure, but I don't think
he's on a 20 goal. Let's just put it this way: even if this is a down year, he's still on a 20 goal pace. He's still on a 40 and almost a 50 point pace.
And remember the intro about the elf and angry elf, that was Connor Garland, right? So yeah, so I don't know. It's not a guy that I want. If I'm the Canucks, I want to have in my division as a rival, for sure.
Yeah. And I guess the other way you can think about it as well, if this trade would go through, would be Calgary acquiring a player or picks, depending on what Vancouver wants for a Connor Garland or a Miller, and then trading those pieces as well, right? And so it's kind of just a ass backwards, or another way to put it, instead of the other way that we're talking about with another team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the funny part about that is I think it's just I actually don't think Connor Garland's had a bad season. I think that is just a narrative that has been made up by fans who are frustrated with how the Canucks season has gone. And if you actually look at he's producing at a better rate than he has in his career this season. So, yeah, I just look at that, and he's locked up long term. The price for Garland won't be as high as the price for JT Miller, but it's still going to be fucking high. And the only reason that they're looking at it is they're looking at every option here. They're just looking at every option, and whether or not I don't think he gets traded at all. They're just looking at every option to see if they can find a piece that they can get. They can move out to get to add elsewhere, to add cap space, as well as to get younger and to add ideally a young blue line piece.
But I do think, and that maybe this is for next Monday here, I think we should have I think one discussion that needs to happen in Canucks land is if Connor Garland is part of the core. Because I do think that there is a debate about that, and I wonder if that's something we unpack on Monday with Connor Garland. Because I feel
the term core is so subjective based off of who talks, though. That's the whole thing. Right now, the only untouchables from the reports out there, the untouchables on the Canucks are Pettersson, Hughes, Demko, and Horvat. Everyone else is available for the right price.
But again, well, but I hear you, but I was like, because I think that there's
I won't drag it. I won't drag us away from Flames. I'll just say that, like, when I said that, like, if they're going to trade Connor Garland, they're going to need a young blue line piece coming back. We talked about how Valimaki doesn't have. I don't think Valimaki has the value out there that he'd be a big piece in there. So then it comes down to Shillington, who they wouldn't trade at this point, or Connor Mackey, who I also don't think has significant value in a trade at this point.
What I'm coming out of this is that Canucks management hates Miller and Garland, and that they are shopping them relentlessly.
They're going to trade them for a garbage bag and a pen.
Not even a bag of pucks.
Not even a bag of pucks. No. Yeah, a pen and a piece of paper for Miller and Garland. Book it.
Done.
Tweet, Cervelli. I'm just kidding. Okay, is there anything else specifically around the Flames that we need to unpack?
Chris Tanev. Just Chris Tanev, gonna gush on him more. Amazing. And he's exactly where he belongs in Calgary. Love it. It's fantastic.
All right, moving on.
Okay. Let's do the commercial. There is an interesting, I do want to maybe get into Levi's question, maybe in terms of overall, because where we go next, where we touch on the Leafs, I think that there may be a possibility there with him. But let's do the Pig and Duke thing.
All right. So yeah, if you're in Calgary or anywhere close by or can get there, please go visit the Pig and Duke. They've got two locations. One the downtown location, 4th Ave and 4th Street Southwest, and the neighborhood pub, which is at 12th Ave and 12th Street Southwest. You can join the Pig and Puck Club there for a chance to win tickets to the April 23rd game between the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks. And you're definitely going to want to make sure that you have your get more entries. So to do that, you can retweet any of our episodes on Twitter, including this one, any of our pod clips to gain another entry, as well as there's the word of the week that you can DM us to get 3 extra entries into that contest. And the word of the week this week is assessment, because that's what the Canucks are doing with their roster, and the Flames are doing that as well, because they're assessing what they need to go forwards. Do they need a Ben Sharat? Do they need a Jacob Chychrun? Do they need a Connor Garland or a JT Miller? So the word of the week is assessment. So DM us that at Shifts and Pucks on Twitter to get 3 entries into the Pig and Puck contest, and you'll be able to join us at the game and at the pub beforehand, and hopefully afterwards as well. Myself, Devin, and Chris are all going to that game, and we'll be make sure you have a good time regardless of who wins. And I'm still ragging the puck because they've decided to leave me.
Sorry, just for a brief second here. And yeah.
And if you're ragging the puck properly, you don't say you're ragging the puck.
Kevin's giving me too many bad habits.
We need to split up the defensive pairing then, because it's not working.
Well, I didn't tell you that to tell. I've never told you to tell everyone to rag the puck. That is
no,
never
but you've
happened.
done it. No, you've done it. You've said that.
Yes, I know, but
That's
you
why
never say it. You never say it.
No, you've said I'm ragging the puck all the time.
Yeah, but I've never told you to say it. I've never said, yeah, you should rag the puck. Tell everyone you're ragging the puck.
Kev, you've taken this. Moving on.
Yes, Sean. God.
Yeah. My teaching credibility is going down here. So Mason Marchment stirred up Leafs Twitter this week with his 6-point performance. Of course, he was acquired by the Florida Panthers for Dennis Malgin in a memorable Leafs trade. And Leafs Twitter went nuts on this trade. It's one of the worst that Kyle Dubas has ever made. And it's over. Hashtag fire Dubas. It didn't ever get that far, but it's one of those situations, Devin, where that's not when a former player has a big night. It's never a good look for the team that traded him, but at the same time, these things happen. What do you think?
It's just cherry picking. That's all it is, realistically. Mason Marchment was not a high-end prospect within this organization, within the Leafs organization. It's always a tough look. Just look at Sam Bennett whenever you do have a player who gets traded from your team over to another team and they have some sort of success. Mason Marchment only has 20, he's a point per game as far as how many games he has played. He's played 22 games this year. He has 23 points, 8 goals, 15 assists. He's doing well.
Can I just interrupt you for a quick second? Because this is an important contest.
Sure.
He has 12 points in the last 4 games.
Exactly.
Which before of this, he had 11. Go on.
Yep. I was getting there, Kevin. God. No, but it's that's exactly it. He's on a third line that has done really well. He's surrounded by talent. Anton Lundell, great prospect. Sam Reinhart. We all know who Sam Reinhart is. He's a good NHL player. So when you surround yourself with good players, you're setting yourself up for success, or you have potential success within being in that lineup. So listen, let's take a deep breath. Whoever's tweeting that, take a deep breath. It's okay. This happens more than you think, where a player leaves a team, whether it's signed through free agency and has a better situation and thrives. And right now, he's an NHLer for sure. But listen, just calm the fuck down.
He's playing on one of the best teams in the league, arguably the best team in the league, and who score in bunches too. That team, when it gets rolling, is just watch out. They should be the Sharks, because when they smell blood, they attack. Like, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, and that was what was the score in that game? Like 7-1 or something like that.
Yeah,
it was 8-4.
8-4. Yeah, they scored 8 goals, and Lundell had what, five apples,
5 assists.
Yeah.
Sam Reinhart had 3, had a hattie.
Yeah, so that line just was going. And it's good for Marchment to find a spot and get there, but we're all like he was undrafted. He never played like a true full season in junior, and had to go through the ECHL at times. Like it's just he's a journeyman, and sometimes the reason he's a journeyman is guess what, he didn't quite make things work in other stops. So yeah,
I agree. I think that that was one of those things that was just completely overblown a little bit by everybody on Leafs Twitter, and it's one of those things that everybody, the Twitter experts, see, I told you this was a bad trade, have an opportunity to speak out and say, look at this, and it's not really. It's revising history is what it's doing, and to be blunt. Can I say this? I'll say it. I think it's insincere. When people do things like this, I think it's a little bit insincere and not really factual to what things are going on.
Well, nothing like cherry picking some stats, because when he played 4 games for the Maple Leafs, and in the 2019-2020 season, and he had 100% face-off rating. 100. He won 1 face-off.
Marchment for Selke.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree. It's not a good look whenever people just go off on that shit, and I feel like the smarter people come out of it being like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you being such an idiot?" Realistically, so yeah.
I do want to. The other thing with with the Leafs, and we haven't really had a chance to get too deep into the Leafs, but I think I do want to bring this up because I do think one area that they are going to have to look at here at the trade deadline is defense. I'm curious, Devin, what your thoughts are on the idea of Jeff Petrie on the Leafs. I think he'd be an interesting piece on the Flames, but I also think that he would be a good fit. I think that would be a guy that I think the Leafs should be looking at.
Man, right off the top of my head, Petrie is 35 and has 3 years left at 6, something like that. That's a massive cap hit. Holy. And as of right now, projected cap space on Cap Friendly for the Maple Leafs is $185,000. There would be a significant cap going the other way. I mean, obviously Petrie would be nice to have. But he's an older guy that contract isn't going to age well. He's had success in his mid-30s, which is good because the way that he has played and he does play really helps within that. But I don't see that being a fit. He does have – obviously he has value. It's just that you got to find the cap room. And even if, let's say – Montreal decides to retain some cap, once again, you're trading within division. I don't know. I don't see that being a quite a good fit for both of those organizations.
Like what caps going the other way if it's the Leafs to make that work?
Nylander?
Like when you have projected cap space is $185,000, and he's over $6 million cap hit. Even if they retain half, or you launder it through another team and you get him for say 2.5, there's still you still have to find a way to make it work. So and give up assets, and we're talking about a Leafs team that only has 3 draft picks this upcoming draft. So how are they, what assets are they giving up to make that work?
Not to mention he has a modified no trade, no move clause. He submits a 15 team no trade list as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, the 2 reasons I brought it up is I do think the Leafs need a right-handed shot defenseman. And nice. And that's where that made sense for me. But I hear you. We'll talk more Leafs going forward here too. We do need to touch on more on the Leafs. We haven't had a chance to have a really good discussion on them yet. I don't think this year. I think this is maybe the second time we've talked Leafs with you, Devin.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the other things I wanted to, because we're hitting the All-Star break, I believe this is the last day of games. Unless there's games tomorrow, I don't see them unless something changed. What are the biggest stories that are not Flames or Canucks related that are of the season so far? What are some of the things that was like, wow, this is a kind of some of your big stories?
Minnesota. I think how well Minnesota has done in this first, I don't want to say half, but within this first little bit, well, not a little bit, from the beginning of the season till now, Minnesota has surprised me. That top line of Kaprizov, Hartman, and who centered that line? It's not Joel Eriksson-Ek. Oh, is it Hartman? And Zuccarello's on the ride on the right there. Yeah. They've definitely surprised me. Your boy Kevin Talbot has done very, very well, and I think that they deserve a lot more credit within the NHL realm than what they have been getting. Because as of right now, they are sitting third in the Central with games in hand. They're 6 games back of Nashville, who's second in the Central, and 4 games back of Colorado, who's first in the Central. They do have St. Louis and Dallas kind of nipping at their heels a little bit, but I think that they're noteworthy story within what is happening in the NHL.
You mentioned a team in there that's a story for me is Nashville too. Who had Nashville being right in the mix for in the Central? No one. Everyone thought it'd be Winnipeg, right? So that Nashville's one. What we talked about earlier about potentially losing a player for nothing. Philip Forsberg's a UFA at the end of the season. What happens there? And then Minnesota. Ryan Hartman's having one hell of a season, and no one's talking about it. Like everyone was talking about how Minnesota needed a first line center, and Ryan Hartman has 18 goals and 33 points in 40 games. I still think they would be really smart to try and go out and add another center and build some depth in there, because Eriksson-Ek's really good, but after that their center depth falls off real quick. And then they've called up Matt Boldy, who's got 9 points in 9 games.
You picked him up on in our fantasy.
Yes. Second time I've done it too.
Well, you're currently losing to at Gordhouse 09.
Yeah, I know. For now. But like Minnesota's been really good this year. And I'm trying to think of what you've got. What haven't we talked about?
I'm going to jump in and talk about since we went positive, I'm going to go negative here. Winnipeg. What the fuck is Winnipeg doing? Holy, what a dumpster fire they are. Blake Wheeler at 35, he is absolutely just shit in the bed this year. The only bright spot on that team is Kyle Connor. That is the only bright spot on that team. And even squinting, I feel so bad for him. A fall from grace from Mark Scheifele, fall from grace from Neil Pionk. I think that I had higher aspirations for him. Clutterbuck, or not Clutterbuck. Oh my God,
Connor Hellebuck.
Thank you. Hellebuck, he's not a Vezina winning goaltender as of right now. I don't know what they do there. What direction are they going to go? I think this trade deadline is going to be interesting for them, because they're going to have GMs calling them shovel day off, asking what the fuck is happening with you guys. Can I steal X player out of there, and maybe at a price where they're not really worth it this year, but they have the track record as far as the player goes to help them in the long term, because there's a lot of contracts that are left on this team. You have Nate Schmidt for another 3 years at just under 6. Yeah, same with Neil Pionk. Josh Morrissey is signed until the end of 27-28. Blake Wheeler for 2 more years at just a hair over $8 million. Kyle Connor, enough said, and Mark Scheifele another 2 years after this at a bit over 6 as well. It's a dumpster fire, and they need to do something. They need to have a direction. It's going to be hard to sell that to the fans and to the people who are going to be paying tickets to see them of what direction they need to go, because I truly believe they need to retool or rebuild around Kyle Connor.
They also have Nick Ehlers for another 3 years at $6 million, who is someone I would be making sure they build around as well. Totally. They've got Cole Perfetti coming up. He's played 12 games, so he's burnt his first year of his ELC this year. They've got Pierre-Luc Dubois needs a new deal, and he's actually been, I'd say he's been a bright spot for them this year as well. But it's that blue line just has not worked. And then they've got Paul Stastny and Andrew Kopp as UFAs for this season, this upcoming summer. And I bet you teams will be calling for Andrew Kopp.
Oh yeah, he'll get a pay raise.
And I look at it. They've got there are some players in there some younger players. They got Ville Heinola, who's only 20, coming up, and he's played a few games this year. He's played 4, but maybe it's time they do look at. But yeah, who's picking up what? Like, who would be willing to take on? Like, Canucks picked up Nate Schmidt for a 3rd and then swapped him to the Jets for a 3rd. Pionk hasn't played up to snuff. Brendan Dillon's at 3.9 for another 2 years, and is he still worth that? That's a big question. Dylan DeMello at 3. He's just injured. So I know, there's that. There could. I don't think anything happens during the season, but I wonder if there is a major trade coming out of Winnipeg in the offseason.
And I wonder if it's 55.
Yeah, maybe. Scheifele.
Maybe.
One other team.
Sorry, I don't know players' numbers, so.
No.
One other team, since we're kind of going east to west here, or west to east, is the Philadelphia Flyers. Where are they going? How are they getting there? And what there's been a lot of trade talks in the past even 4 years about Travis Konechny. I wonder if that shoe finally drops here. Maybe not in season, but in the off season. Claude Giroux, he's a UFA at the end of the year. Will he trade, or will he want a chance to win a cup potentially by getting traded at the trade deadline? What is Carter Hart? Who is Carter Hart? And where the hell is he? He's better than he was last year, but he's not the guy that Philadelphia wants him to be. And I just don't know. I'd swear they need a direction here, because it doesn't seem like they really know. I don't think Rasmus Ristolainen was a great pickup there. They paid a lot for him, and he is what he is. He is what he was in Buffalo, and it's not good.
I'll disagree with you on one thing that you said there, Dev. Carter Hart is still a fucking good goaltender. He's just behind a tire fire of a team.
Well, but that's the thing, though, right? You need to surround him with for success. He's still a damn good goalie, but right now it doesn't matter how good you are. you could be a fucking amazing player, but it doesn't matter if you're not surrounded by.
Yeah, and that's the point. Is what's going on in Philadelphia is not Carter Hart's problem, or he's not the problem.
They're thinking that he should be the solution, though.
It's hockey. Hockey is not teams are not made or broken by one player, even if it's a goaltender. You need to have a good blue line in front of him. Just ask Connor Hellebuyck. we just talked about it. Like he can only do so much too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and like they haven't drafted well. They are, I mentioned that they were a lot like the Flames last year in terms of this dysfunction and needed a shakeup. And I still think that, but there's also some Oiler in them where they just think that they're better than they are. And man, it's not Carter Hart. In one sense, it's not Carter Hart, but like there's not a lot of talent in Philadelphia. Like the Cam Atkinson for Jacob Voracek trade, that was a trade, but it didn't improve their team. It was a trade. The Nolan Patrick draft pick didn't work out. There's some revisionist history from Barbie Clark around that.
And they haven't really been able to see what Ryan Ellis is as a Flyer. He's been injured for basically the whole season.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece. A big piece of that in terms of a bit of an unknown there.
Especially at that cap that it's 6.25 and he's 31 and he's signed until the end of 26, 27.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a lot of cap here. And especially with Cam Atkinson, I mean, like Kev, you said it, that's a trade. they did that. And it's more so, I think, a salary dump per year, not for how many years left, because I believe Voracek has 2 more years at 8, when Atkinson is a bit under 6 for another 3 years. So, yeah, they need a direction, and right now they don't have it.
Well,
and they also have Kevin Hayes signed long term. It's over $7 million. They've got a lot of, and Farabee's got a new long term $5 million contract that starts next year as well. That's what's interesting with going into this offseason for those two teams specifically, is they've got a lot of money locked up long term. And yeah. So do they have are they going to be able to make moves?
Yeah,
they're all in.
They keep being all in. That's the problem. They think they contend for they go in and contend for the cup, and I'm not there's not really room for them to improve, to build. But let's look at this. Let's look at first round picks for the 16, 17, 18 for the Flyers. German Rubtsov has played 4 games for the Flyers in the NHL. Behind him is a Henrik Borgstrom. He's been okay. Max Jones, he's starting to get there. A Tage Thompson, I would argue better than him. Sam Steele, starting to build a little bit. Even a Tyler Benson, he needs to play. There's Jordan Kyrou is a pick that passed the Philadelphia Flyers over a German Rubtsov. Now, you could argue from the Flames' perspective that Jordan Kyrou is the Brian Elliott pick, but there's a Jordan Kyrou and an Andrew Peeke passing there in 2016. 2017, that's Nolan Patrick. The next 3 picks after Nolan Patrick, Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar, Elias Pettersson. And I get it. Nolan Patrick was considered a really high prospect. And I get it that he has some concussion issues, but it's not a good look when 3, 4, and 5 is Heiskanen, Makar, and Pettersson. And then you even have an Owen Tippett in there too.
And a Nick Suzuki.
Yeah.
And a Josh Norris. Robert Thomas. Oh, man.
Well, I think part of it is it did not work out. And I wonder once he gets healthy and feels back comfortable and feels comfortable in Vegas, what kind of career he can carve out. But yeah, when you look at the Makar, Heiskanen, Pettersson, Hischier, it's that's an unfortunate swing and a miss.
How about this? Jay O'Brien, pick 19. 21, Ryan Merkley. 22, Keandre Miller, 23, Isaac Lundstrom. Now, I'm not saying that these guys are Makar, Heiskanen, and Pedersen, but Jay O'Brien has yet to play in the National Hockey League, where Isaac Lundstrom, 2 of them have already played 100 games in the National Hockey League. There's
So
a Jacob
Brian's
Bernard
signed
Docker.
yet?
There's a
That's-
Jacob
yeah,
Bernard Docker there.
Okay, you get it, but O'Brien hasn't even signed yet. He's still in the NCAA.
Yeah, okay, but
So-
still, my point is the Flyers drafting is not. That's part of the problem, and I think that there's validity with the Nolan Patrick argument. I could see what you're saying, or I could see someone counter arguing that, but there is some pieces that there is some talent specifically on defense that they've passed on. It just doesn't look great to me.
Yep. It's very apparent that their drafting hasn't been the best within the past 5 years, other than obviously the slam dunk of Carter Hart.
Farabee was a good pick too.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think just going back to what their cap looks like. Sean Couturier, his extension kicks in next year, 7.75, and that ends at 29.30.
And he's 29 right now.
Right? It just doesn't look good. They need to do something.
They have Couturier at 7.75, and he's 29. He'll be 30 when that kicks in.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
If not, it's
he'll be 30. Yeah, he'll be 30 when in the year that Ellis is signed through till 26, 20 till the end of 26, 27 at 6.25, and he's 31. Kevin Hayes is signed till the end of 2026, and he's 29, and his cap hits over $7 million. And then you throw in Atkinson's 32, and he's signed for another 3 years after this. Van Riemsdyk still got a $7 million cap hit for next season.
And the bright spots are there. You have Carter Hart, you have Ivan Provorov, you have Joel Farabee, you have Morgan Frost, you have Konechny. Konechny is hit and miss every once in a while. Obviously, he's been on the trade. He's been in trade talks for years, and he's still young. He's 24 still.
24, yeah.
Yeah, and so there are some bright spots here that you can build around, but the fact that they keep on going all in and hoping for the best, and it just doesn't make sense. And it's unfortunate that Ryan Ellis did get injured, and when he has played for them, he's played very, very well. But that doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of old players on that lineup that have a lot of cap hit and a lot of term left. So that is, if we're talking about stories, Winnipeg and Philadelphia, not a good scene.
So to me, the best team story to me is the Panthers. I mean, just the way that that's a fan base that had literally empty arenas. It was a disaster, and now it's a place of life. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I could see them being eliminated in the first round. I'm sorry I said it. Yes, I did. But I could also see them winning the cup. I think that's entirely possible. I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens for. They're the best. To me, the disappointment of this year, I don't disagree about Winnipeg and Philadelphia, but I fully expected more from the Ottawa Senators. And I'm not saying that they were contending for a playoff. But I think where they are at right now, I think if I'm a Senators fan, I'm disappointed.
They don't have a blue line. They've got Thomas Chabot and who right now. Jacob Bernard Docker has some potential, but he's still in his first year pro. So I think they're exactly where I thought they'd be.
I think that they definitely could have been better. Yeah, that blue line isn't the best, but look at that goaltending as well.
Yeah.
Matt Murray, I'm sorry. You're a shadow of yourself from when you won the cup twice. It just doesn't. He's not aging well within this new NHL. And yeah, I mean Artem Zub. He's a bit of a bright spot on that defense, but outside of that, yeah, Victor Mete isn't really what we thought he was going to be, even though he was a waiver pickup. I don't know. You do have a lot of bright spot on the top line of Tkachuk, Norris, and Batherson. Tim Stützle, he's kind of showing a little bit of warts, but like realistically, fuck it. We're nitpicking. Oh, I mean, people are nitpicking a 20-year-old in his second season of the NHL. So it's one of those things where I feel like they're relying on him for more than what he can give right now. So there are a lot of bright spots. Nick Paul, love Nick Paul. What a warrior he is. One of those guys that you do win with. And talk about a heart and soul as well. So I do agree, Kev. They could be in a better spot, or they potentially could have been in a better spot. But you got to be squinting pretty hard to think that they would want to be a bit higher in the standings, especially with this draft class coming.
Well, I think that the issue is that they're playing the way that I thought they would. Detroit's just has been really good, and Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider have stepped up, and they've made that team a lot better than, and as well as Nedeljkovic, who's yet again still a rookie. He's the Jamie Storr of this generation, where he just gets he'll get back-to-back rookie all-star team at the end of the year votes.
Yeah.
For me, the Islanders too. The Islanders, we thought the Islanders would be right in the mix with in the Metro. Yeah, they've had some unlucky with some injuries, but they're still not. They still aren't as good as we thought they'd be, for sure. Not to mention the amount of, again, talking about older players on long-term contracts. Anders Lee, 31, $7 million, signed for another 4 years after this. Brock Nelson, another 3 at 6, and he's 30. Kyle Palmieri, 31, 3 years after this at 5. I think their blue line is really good, especially if Pulock can come back and play well, because he was injured for a long time there. But the other thing with this is watch out for them. They're still within striking distance. Do not count them out to get into the playoffs, and then just play Lou Lamoriello style playoff hockey and go deep.
They're 17 points out, but they do have 5 games in hand. It's going to be really tough for them to get into the playoffs.
If there's going to be a team that could do it, it would be the Islanders. But yeah, it is a bit of a potential long shot there for them to do it. But they do have the pieces around them to within that locker room to definitely do it, especially with that goalie tandem that they have. It's just they've had a hard time scoring.
They'll need to win at least 25 games to get into the playoffs.
Yeah. And two other teams that if we're talking about kind of surprises here, no further than California with the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings. Both of those teams are in playoff spots in their division. In the Pacific, and yes, they've played more games than Calgary, Edmonton, but I think that it's been a kind of a pleasant surprise to. I mean, that's not the right verbiage. It's been surprising not pleasant. It's been surprising to see Anaheim where they are, and LA as well, because we did not think that those California teams would be as good as they are this year, and we were thinking that finally that California swing that Vancouver and Calgary usually go on is usually a gauntlet. But we're expecting not that this year. Not free pass on the bingo card, but by any chance. But definitely not as hard as it has been in the past decade.
My response to that, my counter to that would be, I wonder if we just assumed that Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver were better than they were, and we completely underestimated Anaheim and LA. I think we looked, and this may have been one of those cases where we overrated the teams we followed and ignored the teams that we didn't. And it was probably a lot closer than we gave it credit for.
The Jonathan Quick renaissance has been a huge deal there. I'm more surprised with LA than I am with Anaheim. Anaheim has Gibson. They have a solid blue line, and they had the young players. And I figured if any of those California teams were going to surprise me and be higher up in the standings than I was expecting, it would be Anaheim. I'm completely in shock with LA, because I wasn't sold on the goaltending, and I wasn't sold on their blue line.
Well, we were talking about the signing of Philip Deneau being an overshot by them, but it seems to be working out right now. Right? Look at that second line and that production. Trevor Moore, talk about an ex-Leaf, just on a fucking tear right now as well. No, let's get mad. Let's get upset about Marchment. No, let's get upset about Trevor Moore. I believe he was a part of that trade for. Oh God,
he was part of the Muzzin trade, wasn't he?
Part of the Muzzin,
yes, yeah. Thank you. Yes, you know me with names. He's a heart and soul player too. So I'm not surprised that he's doing as well as he is down there. But yeah, that second line is pretty deadly, surprisingly enough. And Quinton Byfield is playing pretty damn well this year too.
Well, yeah, after he came back, I was about to say, they've done most of this without some of their top prospects, because Byfield's only played 6 games.
Yeah, and since he's been back.
Since he's been back, and like Turcotte's only played 8. It's been veterans that have been leading the way. Kopitar, 28-year-old Alex Iafallo, 25-year-old Adrian Kempe, 28-year-old Victor Arvidsson. Talk about a steal of a trade there.
Yeah.
And 26-year-old Trevor Moore. It's the best sort of pure, quote unquote, prospect that has played for the Kings this year has been Arthur Kaliev. And he's got 7 goals and 13 points. This is actually a much more veteran latent lineup than I thought they would go with. And maybe that was kind of, so it's very interesting that, they said I just wasn't sold on that blue line, and I wasn't really sold on Calvin Peterson as a goalie, but guess what? It's been Jonathan Quick who's looked like he's bringing back the old Jonathan Quick. So,
and Cal Pedersen's been pretty good too. It's a good 1-2 tandem right there.
He
recently, at least.
Yeah, he's got Cal Pedersen has a 900 save percentage on the season. So recently, like I said, he's been playing pretty well. And for Sean, I love gushing about and Kevin, love gushing about defenseman Matt Roy or Wah. He's came out of nowhere this year, and he's been playing 25 plus minutes. Speaking of another ex-Leaf, Sean Dursey. He's got 13 points in 28 games.
Oh, God. Yep.
I think that he was also part of that Muzzin trade.
Yeah, he was.
And let's not forget Mr. Drew Doughty, 26 minutes a game, 23 points in 27 games. He's quietly been Drew Doughty.
Oh, okay. I thought we extradited him. I thought he wasn't a Canadian anymore.
Why?
Oh, it's because every time he comes to Canada, he gets booed. So he gets upset about
because
that.
every time he comes to Canada, he opens his mouth and starts talking shit that doesn't make sense.
Right? God.
But he's still very good. So it's like I said, I wasn't so, and that's why LA is like, you've got the Matt Roys, you've got the Sean Durzeys who have stepped up. Like Alex Edler's only played 26 games this year because that was another, they signed him.
Yeah.
So Tobias Bjornfot and Mikey Anderson, they don't have the points, but Mikey Anderson's playing almost 20 minutes a game. And yeah, he's been a solid player there. So it's, yeah.
And talk about defensemen who fucking run their mouths. Justin Falk, stay in the States. No, we don't want you up here. We don't want you up here.
I mean, I wanted to take that route, but the amount of just having to go up and then the one of the big things was Pavel Buchnevich came out of COVID protocol, was able to play against Seattle in Seattle, but then couldn't play against Vancouver, and then was allowed to play against Calgary. Like there are some weirdness there, so I get it, but irrationally, yes, say the fuck in the States, Justin Falk.
Yeah. Yeah. It's certainly going to be interesting that for sure. Just looking at something here. Anyway, I was looking to it to see how they got Matt Roy, but I thought it was the Alec Martinez trade, but that was two second round picks, so that wasn't it. Anyway, but yeah, some interesting stories there. We talked about this Friday. Monday. We talked about Henrik Lundqvist being the second best, if Henrik Lundqvist was the best goalie to ever to play that never won the Stanley Cup. By the way, just for future, the debate that we'll have in the summer, Sean, Roberto Luongo versus Mika Kiprusoff, because that's more accurate. They played in the same era, so that will be the debate that we'll have. Not
it's
Kiprusoff.
Luongo, and it's not close, and that's not a bashing of Kiprusoff.
Oh, I'd say it's not close. I'd say it's Luongo, but it is closer than you think.
And Matt Wall was drafted by the Kings.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's how they acquired him. But anyway, the other guy that was had his jersey retired was Sergei Zubov, and for far too long was out of the Hall of Fame. But is he the second best Russian defenseman to ever play?
Who's your first?
Yeah, I was going to say outside of who?
Fedosov.
Okay. I'm trying to think.
There's Gonchar.
Oh man.
I'm just looking here. You got Gonchar, you have I guess so, yeah. I mean, I'd even say it's 1A, 1B with those two as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Markov is in there. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, Kev, I think I'd say that it'd be, to me, it's Gonchar just a hair ahead. Yeah, 1A, 1B. With Zubov, and Markov is there as well, but just doesn't have the same amount of points as Zubov and Gonchar.
Yeah, it's one of the more underrated defensemen to play in this game for sure. I think we should mention here the sad one here, and I think is Vladimir Konstantinov that got in that terrible accident that ended his career. Yeah. That's I can't really think of anyone else I would put. There's some defensemen and some of them are pretty good defensemen, but I wouldn't put them in an all-time list.
No, I think it's right. It's literally you've got Gonchar, Zubov, and Fedosov that would be the three that would be above everyone else, and then you've got Markov, Zhitnik, Vladimir Malikov. But and then it's like then you get into like this mushy sort of quote unquote middle.
Kulikov, Orlov.
I mean, they could be part of the conversation in the future. Provorov could be, Sergachev could be, Gavrikov could be too, but I can't put him there now.
I would say Sergachev has the best chance at that.
Sounds like it. I mean, what about Zaitsev, huh? or Zadorov? Where is he?
Zadorov has scored where is it? I saw his name on here somewhere. 30th most points among Russian defensemen in the NHL in his career. Zaitsev is 29th.
Carl agrees.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Alex Romanov maybe for a future ones that get up there too.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's some future names, but I think, it's Fedosov or Zubov for me.
Fedosov, Zubov, or Gonchar. I can't ignore Gonchar.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing we wanted to talk about, Shea Goldman wrote this article on Sportsnet and The Athletic about some of the best lines in the NHL. Maybe we should have put this in the Flames one because I think some will argue it's Lindrom, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau. But there are some other names. Yeah. I'm trying to think of it like but other than that, I mean, you could the Huberdeau line, Marchment, Lundell, and Reinhardt had a good lot there. You had the Greenway line in Minnesota. We talked a little bit about them, but is it Lindgren? Yeah, the Hintz, Robertson, Pavelski line. By the way, someone has that entire line on their team in a certain fantasy draft. I'm just pointing that out. I don't know who that is. But
he's not winning.
Well, he'll be fine. Trust me. It's hard to argue. I think it's probably like, I think you'd have to put Lindholm, Gaudreau, Tkachuk probably, if not one. I can't put them any lower than 3, but I can't think of
who else is up there, because you have the Landeskog, Granton, and McKinnon line as well,
and the Bennett Huberdeau line.
Yep, and talk about a line that hasn't been together too long this year: Gensel, Crosby, and Rust.
The other one was the line that they've gone with mostly this year is Gensel, Crosby, and Rodriguez.
Oh, what a revelation Evan Rodriguez has been.
It's out of necessity.
But hey.
Yeah, because he didn't have Crosby. Gensel was out. Rust was out. Malkin. Like, it's been you had Jeff Carter on the second line.
And I said Kaprizov, Hartman, and Zuccarello as well.
Yeah.
Mike Sullivan for Jack Adams. Didn't stutter. Anyway.
Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and Wilson.
Tom Wilson going to the All-Star game. That's
All-Star Tom Wilson.
I'm sorry.
Tom, you cannot hit anyone. What?
Yeah. I think an underrated line as well, but is up there is the Zibanejad, Kreider, and Lafreniere, and Kreider's having a fucking hell of a year.
Oh yeah.
Holy.
Forsberg, Granlund, and Duchesne.
Yep.
The center that Devin doesn't like, Chandler Stevenson with Pacioretty and Stone when they're all healthy.
Gross.
Underrated
Chandler
line.
Stevenson is not a top line player. We all know this. All right.
Another underrated line is Raymond Larkin and Bertuzzi.
Yeah,
they're really good. They're a really good first line.
Bertuzzi is so underrated. He is a phenomenal fucking player, even though he's the only one who's not vaxxed in the NHL.
Yeah,
he is unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of that. He's a great player, but get vaccinated.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. But yeah, he's a heart and solar. He has the talent, and just I would love him on either the Flames or the Leafs. Oh my god.
So I'm on Money Puck, and they've got like one for best lines that you can sort by. And this is goals for per 60. Duclair, Bennett, and Huberdeau is tops. Kaprizov, Hartman, Zuccarello is second. Bunting, Matthews, and Marner is third. Surprised Devin didn't bring that one up. Pacioretty, Stevenson, and Stone. Former Leaf, Anders Johnson, Dawson Mercer, and Jesper Bratt.
Mercer, what a good draft pick that is. Oh my god.
Ben Sagan, Gurianov.
What?
Yeah.
Stop
They're up there. They're higher up on goals per 60 than Robertson, Pavelski, and Hintz.
That's ridiculous. This is where stats are stupid. Because if you watch the game, you know that the Hintz, Robertson, Pavelski line is way better.
Well, I think they, in terms of goal, they play more. I think they're. Let's see here. That line together has scored, according to Money Puck. What? Am I missing them? Let's find it.
Yeah, and the reason why
they've scored 26 goals as a line. The only line that scored more goals as a line is the Tkachuk, Lindholm, Gaudreau.
That's right.
Line.
Yeah.
So Tkachuk, Norris, and Batherson as well out of Ottawa. They've scored 21 goals as a line this season.
And they haven't been together that long either.
Yeah.
But the reason why I didn't bring up Austin, Matthews, Bunting, and Marner is because I was waiting for somebody else to do it.
You didn't want to be the one to do it?
Nope.
Oh, you chicken homer! You're a chicken homer. That's what you are.
No, hey, listen. I want them to get the spotlight that they deserve without having me being the Leafs honk over here.
Oh, there's being a Leafs honk, and then there's actually just pointing out something that is true, and that is one that has. And
that's what I normally do. And that's what I normally do. But I hate getting painted in the corner. So yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the Leafs, I feel like with the Leafs, everyone is just waiting for the playoffs. That's like what's happening with the Leafs. No one wants to. The only one that's getting a lot of praise is Jack Campbell. Everyone else, we're just like, yeah, whatever. Other than Jack Campbell.
Recently, Campbell's been struggling, though, right?
I think Jack Campbell's overrated.
I think they knew this, and obviously didn't expect him to do what he did last year. Come out of the gate, he win 8 or 9 in a row, setting a record. And that's why they brought in Peter Mrazek. And yes, Mrazek, he is injury prone, but he is a good tandem goalie. And if he's healthy, that's a great tandem.
It's a solid tandem. I still don't think it. I'd still have questions going into the playoffs, but if one of them can get hot, watch out.
Yeah.
So
you're not the only one who has questions.
It's going to depend on who you play in the first round. The Leafs play in the first round, right?
I think they'll feel it out, and then they'll run with most likely Jack Campbell. Most likely.
But the problem though with that, unfortunately, is your first round playoff matchup is not one that you're going to be able to feel out. You better figure out what the hell you're doing well before opening face-off.
Well, I think it's more so feeling it out, saying, okay, well, if Jack Campbell doesn't look good, then we'll go to Mrazek. If Mrazek doesn't look good, then we're all fucked.
Because you're likely going to play one of Florida or Tampa in that first round.
It's lovely, and hopefully Kevin's prediction is correct, and Florida sucks. They're going to get bounced in the first round.
I said, they could be. That's one of those situations because we haven't seen playoff success from them yet.
I've got a Vegas ticket that on Florida winning the cup, but that will win me about $400. So I'm hoping for a deep run there.
You just put 200 on it?
No, I put 20. The odds were freaking good.
Yeah.
When friend of the show Stephen Loudon went down to Vegas, I tossed him a 20 to put it on Florida for the cup.
By the way, thanks for the ticket, Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen. He owes me nothing. He owes you guys more than me. He doesn't owe me anything. Anything else we need to expand on here, as we've well passed Tyler's time limit here of 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Our attempt to shorten our episodes has not worked. We have not. No. Every episode since the split has been 2 hours or longer, and this might be. I think this is the longest.
This is the longest one, but I still think that what we've done is a good thing.
Well, especially when you open up the topics of, okay, well, what are the stories in the NHL? Okay, well, it's a long list here.
Yeah,
we could go down. It was like we wouldn't even talk about like the meandering teams. Realistically, we just talked about the best and the worst.
Yeah, there's probably. Well, we can dig into some other. You know what I want to have happen at the All-Star game, though? This would make me so happy. John Tortorella interviewing Trevor Zegras. Please make that happen.
Or Connor McDavid.
Yeah, at the same time. Oh.
A little round table with all three.
And what's funny is we still haven't even talked about too much about. And we'll get into this, and we'll do this as a tease for one of the episodes next week. But what the fuck is going on with Arizona? They're gonna play in a 5,000 seat arena, and once they get rid of they change it around for media and everything that is needed for that. It's gonna be 3,500. No. Find the relationship advice. Find someone who loves you the way Gary Bettman loves the Coyotes. Unconditionally, apparently.
Yep. And Arizona should get a smaller barn as well. Play like realistically. Anyways, we're not going to get into this. No.
We'll get into this next Monday. We'll dig into that because it'll be the All-Star break. We'll probably be able to ramble on some other things. There won't be a lot of games to talk about, but there'll probably be a lot of stories that we'll get into.
They're shooting cards down off the strip to try and hit blackjack.
Oh fuck! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I will not be participating in All-Star watching this. That's just
old man Kevin doesn't like fun.
Exactly. That sounds like a lot of the good time that these young children have today in this day and the age. And I want to go and have my nap now.
It's either that or you wanted the old-fashioned fun.
I need the porn music here. Anyway, well, that I embarrassed myself. Let's leave it there. So how do we follow everyone?
I am BeardyConnect03 on Twitter.
And follow me on Twitter at Gordhouse09.
Tyler, TNOBLE, Schneids, Christian Schneids, SCHNAIDZ. You know he's going to be watching that Canada-El Salvador game tonight. Tyler, TNOBLE, as I mentioned. I am KEVOLE, Shifts and Pucks on Twitter, Facebook.com, YouTube.com, Twitch.com, and wherever you get your podcasts. We are back Monday to discuss Vancouver, the Canucks, not the city of Vancouver, and other hockey. We will have our news packs tomorrow and Friday. Watch out for our pod clips. And thanks, everyone. Okay, and hit that subscribe and that like button as well, please, and thank you. We fell under 200, so can we get over 200 again? That would just be nice.
Good riddance, whoever you you are.
Let's go Canada. The Olympics are starting. We got the women are facing off against Switzerland tonight, so let's go. Yes, Marie-Philippe Poulin, one of the flag bearers for the Canadian team. Anyway, we will talk to you all very soon, or else I will keep going for another 2 hours. Bye for now.